Welcome to another episode of the Where They Create podcast with Landon Metz. This story was shot a little while ago in Greenpoint, and I actually met him at the New York Book Fair. It just happened to be lining up in front of me, and we got chatting. Serendipitousness of that encounter and meeting, and I like when creatives make their way into my life through randomness. So he kind of launches straight into a conversation about his work and his methodology. I think it's a little insightful, and his work is beautiful. Check it out.
So I really wanted the medium itself to be a part of the picture instead of using paint, as a means to an end. I wanted it to be an end in itself, and so in the canvas as well. So I started working with enamel on unprimed canvas, so the canvas would at least have would be more part of the picture. And
Totally, absolutely.
The enamel is more fluid material than oil, so it has like a really strong gesture of its own. And they were like very, very much action paintings. But one thing that I was working. One thing that I was working with the paint was that it covers the canvas. I wanted to have a homogenized textural feel where the canvas would be present throughout the entire piece, and the canvas would also in some way inform the way that the medium on top of it would respond to the canvas. So I got into these powdered pigments that I mixed with water.
Yeah, right.
And so basically what these are is the canvas becomes part of the medium, where it's not something on top of canvas, it actually is inside of the canvas.
Yeah, well, you can see it.
Yeah, and the canvas never actually disappears.
No.
It just changes. And so it's about those subtle shifts in the way in which the canvas informs the dyes and the way that the picture is generated by their relationships to one another, and then also by my relationship to the canvas and the dye. So there's and they sort of teeter back and forth of more of my gestures, more of the medium's gestures, and I like
there's a whole set of parameters that the canvas works in that normal primed canvas doesn't.
Exactly. Yeah.
The way that the ink is absorbed or not absorbed, and every batch of canvas will be slightly different. I mean,
totally.
Pretty similar, but kind of different.
Totally.
And I guess the way that you deal with the canvas you've had to shift from working on a primed canvas. Totally, I'm sure, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. And then every time you do a new batch of ink, or you try a new ink or a new ratio, I'm sure that would have a whole new effect, right?
Totally different.
Right.
Even the times of years are actually really
The temperature, of course.
Yeah, some of these have more gradients than others, and a lot of that has to do with the drying time, which just happens to do with the time of year.
Yeah, right.
And the environment of the room, the humidity of the day, and the temperature of the day, and whether or not I do them in the sunlight or in the night, it changes. Well, adds on the show. There's a lot of external factors involved in the way that the picture is dictated and the way the work becomes a finished piece. I mean, they're really about finding natural processes and using them to my advantage in sort of having a 50-50 balance, a dance, an interplay between my gesture and the gesture of all the natural forces involved.